Hi everybody, welcome to the Tampa Native Show. You know it's Thursday night at 7 o'clock, and like we say each and every week, it's got to be the Tampa Native Show. This week we're welcoming back Andy Johnson. Only we're going to take a little different tack this week. We're going to talk about his family's history, which is an amazing one dating all the way back to the 1840s. Talk about a Tampa native. So you've come to the right place, and you know it's the right time, because the Tampa Native Show starts right now.
Otra vez. Come here. Let me say something. I remember Tampa, the way she used to be, the places we would run to, the faces we would see. Yes, I remember Tampa, those precious memories, a city rising on the move, a simple yet progressive groove. I remember Tampa, and she remembers me. Yeah. She remembers me.
Welcome to the Tampa Native Show. Stay tuned now for the fastest 60 minutes in cable broadcast history. Live from the studios at TBCN, the home of the Tampa Native Show. Join your hosts, Mario Nunez, the 15-minute girl, and Steve Canella, as they celebrate growing up in Tampa. From Shock Armstrong to Shakey's Pizza, from Braddock Street to Buffalo Avenue. Get ready to call in and tell us your stories, because sharing your memories has never been this much fun. And now, Mario Nunez, the 15-minute girl, and Steve Canella.
She remembers me.
Welcome back, Tampa Native Show fans, to this, your Thursday night edition of Andy Johnson Part 2. Now, Andy is stuck in traffic currently, and he's going to be here in just a... You heard him laughing, right? He's going to be here in just a couple... No, he's already here. But we're going to take care of a few things before we bring him on. I told him, Andy, save your smile. We got time. Let me introduce to you my broadcast partner seated immediately here to my left.
Sally Nunez.
A.K.A. our very own 15-minute girl. And over there with his glasses on tonight.
I always wear my glasses.
Yeah, he does.
Steve Canella.
A.K.A. Tampa Steve. Hello, Dory is standing by the phone lines. And, of course, our technical director, Eric Cups, is already hard at work switching out cameras.
He is.
So we'd like to welcome you back. Welcome to our fans, those new fans that are just joining us this week for the very first time in our live broadcast. And, of course, to our regular fans, welcome back. We'd like to say hello to Keitha Abini out there, who's just a little bit under the weather. We realized yesterday she had a little trip to the emergency room that she wasn't expecting, but she's back home now. So, Keitha, we're wishing you well, and we want you to get better so you can be with us on Mother's Day when we celebrate all things Tampa Natives at the Rays game. We've got some exciting news today to announce. We've got a new sponsor that's just joined our familia of sponsors here at the Tampa Native Show, and it's none other than the Tampa Yankees. That's right, the Tampa Yankees. If you'll bring up that graphic behind me now. There, look at that, man. How sexy is that, guys?
Nice
Tampa
logo.
Yankees, take us out of there so they can get the full breadth of that. Look at that logo right there. We want to say thank you very much to Jessica Lack, Matt Guess, and GM Vance Smith for their hard work and their prudent decision to partner with us here at the Tampa Native Show because, well, who wouldn't want to be a sponsor of the Tampa Native Show? You know, we do great things here each and every week, and we're looking forward to growing our family of sponsors. So thank you very, very much, Jessica, Matt, and General Manager Vance Smith. This week, they've offered us, as they will be offering us each and every week going forward for the next 10 weeks, 11 if you count tonight, part of our Bolita drawing. 4 tickets. That's 4 tickets to this Saturday's game. How about that? You got any baseball fans out there that want to go see the Tampa Yankees? Because, you know, baseball is baseball. And you can see the stars of tomorrow today right down there at Steinbrenner Field. So, ready with your Bolita numbers when you call in tonight. Let me read to you what the 4 tickets to teacher. This is what my text says here. It says 4 teachers to the tickets. 4 tickets to Teacher Appreciation Night on Saturday, April 13th. Players will be wearing custom jerseys that fans can bid on in a silent auction during the game. Proceeds from the silent auction benefits serve volunteers and education. Also, there will be post-game fireworks. So thank you once again to our newest sponsors. You know, one thing that you have to realize here that there is tremendous value to our sponsors, and everyone, truthfully, should want to be a sponsor. Stevie, and why would they want to be a sponsor? Don't answer that because I got an answer for you. Why would they want to be a sponsor? Because sharing your advertising budget with us has never been this much fun. Have you heard that before, Stevie?
Sounds very familiar.
Can I ring the bell?
Absolutely.
All right.
That's a bell.
That's a bell ring. All right. Thank you, Tampa Yankees. Thank you, Jessica, Matt, and Vance, for your confidence in us. We promise not to let you down. Bigger and better things coming around the corner. Also, let me talk a little bit about Joe and Sons olive oils, because we always can count on Joe and Sons olive oils, and they give away one of these bottles each and every week in our Bolita drawing. That's infused balsamic vinegar or olive oil, fresh pressed, your choice. Got to go down there to claim it. And speaking of that, Marilyn Messina tells us that this week 2 firefighters came down there to the store. Not the 2 firefighters, not Ronnie Martinez that won last week, but 2 different firefighters, Tampa firefighters, went down to the store to make a purchase, and one of them happened to work with her nephew, Jimmy Benavina. And Marilyn, you may or may not know this, but Jimmy graduated high school with me, class of '76 at Jefferson High School. Do you see how small Tampa is?
What a small world.
Do you see how much of a familia we are here in Tampa, especially those of us that are Tampa natives? Well, it's a proven fact. When you partner with us, not only do you get noticed, but you get business.
And you have fun.
Stevie, I'm full of them, brother.
These connections.
The marketing department has been working
hit that bell again.
overtime this week. So contact our staff at area code 813-920-2508 and say, we want to sponsor the Tampa Native Show, and watch your business grow. Again, I should have been in advertising. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there for your consideration. If anybody needs somebody to work. No. Moving right along. Stevie,
well,
you've got some news from the IT front this week.
You
want to talk a little bit about that?
Let's do that.
All
in
right.
fact, well, the good news is we have the 30-minute best of Season 8 is now up on the TampaNativeShow.com website. So be sure to go there and check it out. And in fact, Andy Johnson, our guest tonight, you'll see him on that pretty much throughout much of the 30 minutes. Great highlights from that show. Also, we added the new sponsor, Tampa Yankees, to the sponsors page. So please go to TampaNativeShow.com, click on sponsors, and you'll see all of our family of sponsors.
That's correct.
But stay tuned, because we're constantly updating the website. TampaNativeShow.com. Email is show@TampaNatives.com. Show@TampaNatives.com. So feel free to send in your Bolita numbers tonight through email if you like. But we want to hear from you too.
Also, here's an opportunity for Steve to give us a recap, because this past week, many of you may have seen him at Festa Italiana. Stevie?
I tell you what, I had the best time. Speaking of connections, the close-knit community that we do have here, I ran into relatives that I didn't even know I had until last Sunday. More relatives.
Oh my gosh.
Marilyn Messina will appreciate that.
Unbelievable.
Incredible. I had a great time. In fact, I volunteered in the genealogy section of the cantina at the Italian Club.
Yeah.
And I only volunteered for 2 hours. But the 2 hours turned into 4 hours. That turned into 6 hours. And I was there all day.
Oh my gosh.
But I got a free meatball sandwich and a free beer.
Attaboy.
And that proves one thing, that I can be bought.
Yes, he can.
For a meatball sandwich.
For a meatball sandwich and a beer, yeah. And had the best time, though. Oh, by the way, remember Rudy Scaglione?
Of course.
Yes.
He made that book. It was the Jefferson High School 1962 50-year yearbook. 50-year yearbook. Met him in person. He was there with his daughter, Kelly Scaglione.
Shout out.
Very nice guy. We're going to have to meet him up for a cafe con leche one of these days, one Saturday when he's in town. Also met Rose Barbie. Now, her parents are Joe and Flo Tambuzzo, and they owned a grocery store, a little neighborhood grocery store in Ybor City back in the 40s. And they owned it with Tony Crepero as well. But anyway, in fact, let's have Eric bring that picture up right now. Eric, it's picture number 4, the Tip Top Grocery Store. Let's take a look at this. Met the Tambuzzos, fascinating people. Here it is.
Uh-huh.
On the left-hand side, that's Joe Tambuzzo. On the right is Tony Caprero. But there was a lot of those stores back in the day in Ybor City. And in fact, we're going to have to do a show on grocery stores, neighborhood grocery stores one day.
Well, we know for a fact in our history that the Cuban predominantly comprised of, let me start that again. The Cuban made up most of the population base, and they were the artisans that rolled the cigars.
Right.
We know that. We know that the Spaniard that came over from the Asturias region of Spain, the impresarios, were the owners of the cigar factories and had the money to bankroll the whole operation. But we count on our Sicilian grandfathers and grandmothers that were there to feed us with the grocery stores and the vegetable gardens. Yeah. Also, they helped build all of the buildings. So, there was all part of the fabric that made Ybor City and Tampa, the wonderful place that it was. Not necessarily in the earliest years, because as Jack Espinosa let us know early on, those three groups didn't necessarily get together because they were all vying for the same slice of the pie. And it was the Wild West in many ways. It was the 1890s. It was rough and tumble. Horse-drawn horses and buggies and dirt roads. But as things started to evolve and those people started to intermix and intermingle and marry, families were born. Well, that's the Tampa that we came to know and love. So everybody had a vital part. And we just know that Stevie's connected to just about everybody here in Tampa.
Yes.
Because that's how he got his moniker, Tampa Steve. Thank you, brother, for that.
It amazes me, really.
Thank you. Now, you know, I would have been there had I not had to be working that weekend.
You guys could have been.
I was in Madrid visiting the mother country as it was.
Nice turnout, by the way. It was very nice.
So let's recap also. Ricky Gallen, thank you so much for last week, for your appearance on our show. We heard so many wonderful things after the show. We've broadened our net as it was. We've increased our viewership, and we've heard from so many of our friends, mutual friends from high school. Thank you, Ricky, for your appearance on our show. One more thing, and then we're going to go to our guest this week. Tickets for our Rays game event are on sale now. There's the flyer on your screen, and it's, of course, available on our Facebook page, on our Tampa Native Show fan page, on our Bring the Rays Back to Tampa Facebook page. It's just about everywhere. You can't miss that flyer. Tickets are available. I talked to our account executive today, Mr. Tom Breslin. He absolutely assured me that we should be prepared to have our sanitary socks knocked off. And for those of you that play baseball, that's a baseball term. They have recently remodeled the private suite that we're going to be in, which is to say they knocked out a wall. They increased the size. They've got brand new flat screens, oversized flat screens inside of the private suite. They've also removed some of the cabinetry. Just upgraded everything. He said he walked through it the other day. And if you met Tom Breslin goes about 6'9". So that means our guest tonight is 6'4". Tom Breslin's 6'9". Ricky Gallen's 7 feet. I'm ready to start that recreation basketball league. I'll be your Spud Webb if you don't mind. But thank you for Tom Breslin for letting us know that. Also spoke with Danielle today. Danielle is the one of the proprietors of the Keystone Motel, which is right there next to the Hurricane Restaurant on Paso Grill Beach. And they're going to have some rooms available for us. So if anybody's going to be attending that event and they might want to stay over there at the beach that weekend, an opportunity is available for you to do that as well. So that's going to be an amazing event. Tickets are still available, but they are going fast. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to bring up the 4-shot, which we've already done.
We're there.
We're in the 4-shot already. Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman seated to my right is none other than Mr. Andy Johnson, who was recently on a little bit of a sabbatical up to Savannah, Georgia, where he was attending a family reunion. Andy, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I feel right at home, you know, with
good to have
the
you back.
connection. You know, my mother's maiden name was Nunez, and so we get that connection there. The Tampa natives with Steve and everything, and so and Eric in the booth there. I used to work with them at Channel 13, so it feels like
you are at home.
Yeah, you are at home. You are at home, and it's always exciting for us when we know that you're going to be on with us because it just brightens the set.
Well, you made me feel very welcome.
Thank you for that. And the traffic was okay getting here?
Yeah, okay. I barely made it.
Man, 275 can be a mess at times, huh?
Right. I remember, of course, before it was built, it took so long to get through Seminole Heights. You know, for the
Nebraska Avenue.
Right. It stopped right at Florabraska for so many years in the '60s until it was extended.
That's right.
I remember back in the old days, you can get anywhere in Tampa in 20 minutes.
Yes, it was a lot quicker.
Tampa to
Less
South
people.
Tampa.
Those days are gone.
And rush hour traffic lasted, like we said, from 5 to 5:20.
Right.
And then it was done.
On a bad day, 5:30 maybe.
Now it starts at 2 o'clock, and it's just perpetual.
Yeah.
It's just perpetual rush hour traffic.
Hey,
Well, welcome back.
Before we get started, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
Or also maybe an apology. This is relating to Marilyn and Anthony Messina. Remember when Andy was on last time?
Yes.
The Bolita drawing?
Of course.
And he signed that autograph for them,
Yes.
and we couldn't find it. Well, I found it in the back of my notepad.
Right here.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it was.
There it is.
Signed, so you don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what I'll do is, Marilyn, I'll come by Saturday afternoon. I'll bring it to you in person, and while I'm there, I'm going to buy a bottle of olive oil too.
all right,
Maybe some
there's some.
balsamic
He's
vinegar.
making up for it. That's a nice makeup.
Exactly.
That's a nice kiss and makeup right
But
there.
here it is. So it's not lost,
Good job.
but that's where it was the whole time.
Sure, and that's
We
why
knew
we
it had
couldn't
to be
find it.
somewhere.
Yeah.
We knew
Somebody
it wasn't
had
lost.
it.
I
Leave
can't
it
wait
to
to
me.
have some of that balsamic vinaigrette.
It's amazing.
It's
It's
really
amazing.
good.
And infused with just about everything, you know,
Yeah,
from
every flavor you
grapefruits
can
to
imagine,
raspberry,
really.
yeah, blueberry. I mean, you got to get in there and you got to sample the
really
goods
good.
because it does. I can talk about it all day, but until you get in there and dip that little piece of bread in there, or if you want to do it the way the traditionalists
Yeah,
do
we
it,
did it
is
with little cups.
just a little cup and sip. Here we go. All right, so tonight at 7:15, just to let everybody know, we are going to take your calls tonight in just a few minutes. We're going to let Andy kind of prime the pump, as it were, kind of set the stage for us, talk a little bit about the history, his experience just now in Savannah. We've got some pictures to show you as well, some very impressive and amazing pictures. Andy, pick up the story kind of where we left it off last time. Remind everybody about Samuel Nunez and your family arriving in Savannah in the 1730s.
Yes, and so my family came to Tampa after the terrible hurricanes of 1848, and they came in actually in the following year in 1849. There were two very bad hurricanes, so weather kind of influenced my life from a very early age. But I had kind of traced the family information back, and then, you know, where do you go beyond Tampa? And so I had gone back as far as Savannah. Originally, we thought perhaps they were perhaps Spanish coming over from Spain. It turns out Dr. Samuel Nunez came from Portugal to Savannah in 1733. And it's very interesting because there's actually a replica of the ship he came over on. He came over after Oglethorpe. Oglethorpe was, of course, the first explorer that came to, had the charter to come to the Georgia colony, and was set up by the king. So it was just kind of fascinating how it all ties together.
We do have a picture, and I wanted to make sure that if this was in fact the ship that they came over in, which I believe it is, the Savannah ship. Let's go ahead and pull up picture number 11, Eric, and this you know, this is how people traveled back in those days. What a wonderful little model, and that's there in the home, is it not?
Yeah, this is a little museum in Savannah. It's in actually a religious building. It's a synagogue there, and a lot of people, you know, came to this country for religious freedom for different reasons. And the pilgrims came to the northern colonies, and there was a resurgence of kind of anti-Semitism in the Iberian Peninsula, in Spain and Portugal, and so Dr. Nunez came over on this little ship. It's the background is just it's kind of a wall there, so I've taken this picture. It's in a glass case.
There. Yeah, you can see a bit
of it's a good-looking ship, though.
It is. It's amazing. It was put together by some shipbuilders in London. He came via London, and they built this ship. But this is, you know, it's just weird to see your ancestor's name on a plaque, but this is in this little museum in Savannah, Georgia, and there's so much history in Savannah, and so many people, you know, came to Florida and migrated down. So this is the names of the Jewish people that arrived in Savannah on the 11th day of July, 1733.
Wow.
This is from the Sheftall Diaries, they call it, the Levi Sheftall Diaries, and you can see right at the top of the left-hand corner, Dr. Samuel Nunez, and then below that his wife and children, and I came through his descendant Moses. So it was just very interesting because here I was raised Episcopalian here in Tampa, so I didn't know about that connection to the Jewish history. Of course, I've been different parts of the family are from different areas and different religions, and so it's just so nice to see that.
Yes, story.
And Savannah was the port of entry for so many Europeans. You know, we think of Ellis Island exclusively, or at least that's the first one that comes to mind, because so many Italian and Irish immigrants came through the port of New York and Ellis Island. But there was a southern migration too, with Charleston and Savannah being very active ports as well. And like you said, if there was that persecution in play at the time, you know, then you might have looked for another port to come in, where you might have come in with less fanfare, where you could have established your family and been sort of in an innocuous, where you
and it was
draw a lot of attention.
Right. It was as I was discovering about the history, I found out that, you know, he practiced Catholicism was the religion, a state religion in Spain and Portugal, and but he kind of was like under the radar, so to speak. And he was the physician to the royalty in Lisbon, and so he was kind of given a little bit of a pass until someone turned him in. And the reason why I found all this out is because it's on public record. He was arrested. His crime was observing the Sabbath.
Wow!
And, so that was just fascinating. But so when he came, you know, he came to London first and then realized that he didn't speak the language very well. English was difficult, and he had an opportunity to come and start this new colony, this new world. And as you said, many people came to other parts of the country, and when I was doing this family research, someone said, well, why don't you go to the National Archives in Washington, D.C.? But remember, 1733, there was no United States of America. There was a group of colonies.
Sure.
Yeah. So it was just fascinating, but it was just interesting, again, the connection, this kind of ironic connection that I'm a meteorologist and this opportunity happened in Tampa. Yeah. We had 2 terrible hurricanes in 1848, and there was a need for a lot of building, and so the ancestors for this particular Dr. Samuel Nunez saw that opportunity and came to Tampa and established a store here.
It's a wonderful story.
Yes,
it is amazing. It is a great story. Yeah. If we will go to the phone lines because it's 7:20 now. If you have a question for Andy, and tonight we're going to try to limit our conversation to family history and as it relates to Andy's family being Tampa native. So resist the temptation to ask him about the weather and the phenomenon. We know that what's happening. I mean, yesterday was 38 degrees at the ballpark in Arlington when the Rays took on the Rangers. We know that April 10th it's not supposed to be 38 degrees. We know that the record snowfall in the upper Midwest is also a bit of an aberration. And what's happening even tonight in the Southeast, it's all crazy. So what we're going to say is, and then we'll put this weather talk to bed, is look at it this way. Okay, the colds are getting colder. The hots are getting hotter. They're lasting longer.
We're getting older.
And those transitory periods that we used to know as spring and fall are getting washed out. Yeah. Okay? That's Mario Nunez, crack meteorologist, giving you your report tonight. Now the rest of the night we'll talk about history.
Speaking of questions, we have one right here on email. From,
great. Good. You got it, Stevie.
Our one and only Hugh Perret here.
By the way.
Oh, that was great. You need a little... We've got a green screen over.
Here we go. Yeah. Question for Andy. What does he consider his family's greatest or most notable accomplishment? Bolita number 23 for Hugh.
Okay.
That's a good question.
All right, Hugh. Thank you, Hugh.
Well, that's a good question. I didn't think about that. My father was the state attorney for Hillsborough County for many years. He was elected as a county solicitor initially, then they combined the positions in the 1960s. So he served from the late 1950s into the 1960s, and there was a time when there was a lot of corruption in Tampa. And so he worked very closely with law enforcement and different agencies to try to put an end to some of the corruption that had gone on during that period of time. Historically, if you go back historically, if you look at the Nunez part of the family on my mother's side of the family, they had the first what we would call a kind of a department store type of situation in Tampa in the 1850s. So after he came here in 1849, he worked for a store, then saved up money and eventually opened his own store. And it's referenced in some of the historical Tampa books. And it was basically, their motto was, we carry everything from the cradle to the grave. And so it was on Franklin Street. Franklin Street, of course, was not paved until the 1900s. So it was a dirt road, and it was a 3-story building. And and yes, it was, and they had poles on the side of the building because they...
Is that their fire escape?
Well, no, they thought it was dangerously high for Tampa, and because of the hurricanes we had from time to time, they didn't want it blowing down. So if you look at some of the old books about Tampa, they had it. So I guess if you, in answer to your question, I'd say my family had really the first kind of department store that carried everything, mercantile store in Tampa in the 1850s, and my father worked, I think he was very, very well respected and well known as the state attorney for Hillsborough County for many years. My mother also here in Tampa was life as well. Very involved. She's still living. As you know, my father had passed away right before the first time I had come on this show, and I had to, his funeral was on the day I was originally scheduled and had to put it back a week. But my mother is still living. She's in a nursing home. She had the opportunity in her life to do a lot of volunteer work in churches and with the Heart Association, and she was involved in Gasparilla earlier in her life, and of course there are a lot of charities that they supported and stuff like that.
I've got to say something. Not only was that a great question, that was an amazing answer. That deserves a bell.
Yeah.
Here we go.
That's a bell.
And don't tell me when to ring the bell, Steve. That's all, you know what I mean? That's why the bell's over here. I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sure. I have a question.
Yes.
When we were teenagers, and I can say that because we're just the same age, when we were teenagers or even before that,
yes.
Were you cognizant of your family's steeped history, or is this something that came to you in your adulthood? Did your pop ever tell you, son, did he ever have one of those talks with you?
I think it's part of perhaps our Southern culture, like where we came from.
Sure.
And I think we talk about that a lot in the South. And but as a child, I had other interests. I was interested in the weather and science, and history was not my big subject. I loved math and physics and science, and so I kind of went in one ear and out the other.
Gotcha.
The person that really talked to me a lot about it was my grandmother, which I loved dearly, Catherine Nunez, and she really taught me a lot about that, but I didn't listen, and I wish I had written a lot of these things down, so now I've had to go back and research that through other people in the family.
And reconstruct.
And then my grandfather on my mother's side, Robert Flournoy Nunez, also talked to me a lot about my family history. So it's I feel a pride about Tampa.
Well, you should.
And hopefully our family's made some small contribution to our city, and I love what's been all the mayors recently have done to make us a world-class city here.
Yeah.
And
especially downtown.
As you speak, we've got an entourage that's on its way to Germany currently to sell Tampa abroad and to bring some manufacturing jobs here. The German technology is renowned and world famous, and so our mayor and a group of business leaders are on their way to Germany as we speak. So I have it's not a question more so, it's a comment. Some people in this life see things as they are and they ask why. And personally, I see things as Andy's describing them, and I say, why can't we be cousins? I mean, for crying out loud.
Well,
I've never heard my name Nunez mentioned as many times as you've mentioned it tonight in the context of, and my family Nunez, and my family Nunez. Well, come on, man. Let's just start that rumor now. We're just cousins.
We probably are distant.
Right.
You have to go far back and then branch off.
And I may have mentioned this when you were here the first time with us. There was a famous Portuguese explorer that sailed under the Spanish flag, because back then it was the king and queen of Spain that had all the purse strings.
Yes.
But the best sailors, we know this, the best maritime captains came from Portugal. So, and I'm speaking of the gentleman for whom half of San Diego is named after, who's credited with discovering the South Sea, which we later came to know as the Pacific Ocean. Go ahead, give me his name. Vasco Nunez de Balboa.
De Balboa. Okay.
And there was another Nunez too. The other gentleman, we knew him as Cabeza de Vaca.
Okay.
That was another Nunez Navarro, Cabeza de Vaca. We're talking about Balboa. But what I'm saying is, hey, these cats sailed around a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They got that seed and they just kind of spread it around. I don't know. I'm asking you, if you're a historian out there, Dan Perez, do some work for us, man. Find out that me and Andy are cousins. That's all. Because I don't want Tampa Steve to have all the fun. Because he's connected to everybody. Okay? I'm just saying. Now, let's show picture number 7, because this is a fascinating photograph. And you have to tell us a little bit more about this particular picture. It's the Milford Mansion.
Look at that.
And can I just throw this out there? And I want you to talk about this picture as well. Andy, the next time you go back to Savannah, take us with you.
Okay.
Because that is beautiful. I want to see that. That's beautiful.
This is actually, just to clarify, I went to Savannah, looked at some family history, and then this was a family picnic up in South Carolina. This is outside of, between Columbia and Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
And this is Milford. This is through my father's side of the family. So I'm a native on my mother and father's side. My mother's side went back to the 1849. My father's side came through Floral City in the early 1900s, late 1890s. So this was owned by my cousin at one time, my father's cousin, another generation, so it might be my second cousin, I guess, or my first cousin first removed. And his name is Richard Hampton Jenrette. And his mother grew up in Floral City, spent a lot of his early life in Tampa, and then to make his his living, he went to New York and started a stock exchange, DLJ Stock Exchange up there. So what he's retired, but in his retirement, he wants to restore historical objects. So this is I guess the tie-in. This is not in
Mercy,
Tampa.
look at that place.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's gorgeous. It's like a state building.
It is.
Thank
It's
you.
very, very beautiful.
Thank you, 15-minute girl. She gave me that idea earlier, right?
Thank you
we went to a picnic, and some of our family members were there, and also it was a fundraiser for this foundation that he has formed. So actually, he has donated this to his foundation, the Classical American Homes Preservation Trust.
Beautiful.
And so it benefits the people there, the people going to the little picnic tent there in the distance. And he had quite a setup there.
Yeah, beautiful weather. It looks like
it's wonderful, wonderful weather. And it's so nice to know other people in the family that have focused on history.
Sure.
And this, of course, is further to the north, but the connection is that there weren't homes here. This house was built in 1820. That mansion was built in 1820.
Look at that.
And this is in the dining room. My cousin Dick, second cousin, is sitting down there in front of the mirror there, talking with some other family members, and I believe that's a Duncan Fife table, which is
it's very grand.
Yes,
no, it's
very,
palatial.
Yes.
Yes.
It's incredible.
So, the idea is to preserve history, as we're talking about here, preserving Tampa's history, and so he's found homes mainly in the South and also in New York, which he has preserved and restored them to their original glory. But the point is not just to keep them for himself. As he gets older, he's 80. He's in his mid-80s, I won't say his exact age, but as he gets older, then he will donate more and more of these properties. And so what he wants is eventually 200, 300 years from now, people can go to these places and say, this is what happened. This is just a view kind of looking out the window. It is a wonderful idea.
It really is.
So he's working on raising money for this foundation. Beautiful. But this is looking out the window.
Pretty landscaping.
It's beautiful. The gardens there have been restored. And then the people out there in the distance in the tent. I met the lady that originally had owned the house before Dick bought it, and she was just a fascinating lady talking about the history. And there's a lot of acreage around there.
Yeah, it looks
and she wanted to keep the acreage because there's trees there, and she couldn't find a buyer that would buy just the house and keep the acreage. And Dick was nice enough to do that. And so it was a good deal for everyone involved.
That's great.
And this is from the front. The main house, you actually come up. You can't tell it from this angle, but there's a large grass area that kind of dips down in front of the mansion as you come up. And so you come up, and as the people would be coming up in their horse and carriage years ago, you would come up this hill. Yeah, you would come up this hill and look. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, but it's amazing the attention to also look at those columns.
Yes.
See the tops of those columns?
Yes.
Now, those are what we call Corinthian columns. Those are the most elaborate. There's three different kinds of columns, the Ionic and the Doric and then the Corinthian. So you don't see that too much. You think of a lot of columns in the South, and Dick loves all these southern houses with columns on them. But this is probably the best example of Greek revival residential architecture in the country. And I was looking at those and I was saying, how do they get those up there? They must be really heavy. It turns out, he told me there are wood. They're actually carved wood and then painted to make it look like they're painted. But those columns are solid on the inside and then covered over with
It's
stucco.
absolutely beautiful.
It was very, very nice.
That is, and to know that you are of that and connected to that, that's your family story. I would think that, just walking on those grounds, you kind of stand a little taller as if he needs to, because Andy goes about 6'4". But, I get a sense that you can't be there and not feel your ancestors around you.
Right. Right.
Very powerful.
When I was in Savannah, speaking of that, when I walked in, I had never been in a synagogue before. I was raised Episcopalian. So when I saw in this little museum that was in the synagogue there, and it has this little area dedicated to the people that originally founded it, I can't describe it, but I felt a presence. And I don't necessarily think of those things, but I felt something like I was at home. I felt this odd feeling. This is me standing there in my shorts. There was a warmer day.
Hey, all right now. That's trying to get a bell right there.
I was originally, last time I was here, I was in a suit. They're trying to get me to get a little bit more casual. So at least this is a preview of things.
There you go.
Look at the window back there behind that. It's magnificent.
It is magnificent. Now this is inside the synagogue. It says Congregation Mikveh Israel, Savannah, Georgia, and this is a little banner they have there. But in there, it's interesting because they brought over the first books of the Bible, the Torah, and also the book of Esther. I'm not sure the significance of that, one of the books in the Old Testament, and those are in that. That little where you see that metal grating there, behind there.
Yeah.
And so they bring those out once a year. But Dr. Samuel Nunes, when he came over in 1733, he brought those with him. And so they bring them out. This is the front. I tried to take a wide angle lens. I couldn't get back.
Oh my
For those of you that have been to Savannah, it's hard to kind of get back away from the building.
Right, to get perspective.
Yeah, and so I used my wide angle lens so it looks a little bit tilted to the side.
Beautiful.
But that was built, and when I walked in the church,
like a castle.
It does, and it's laid out very similarly to what I was, used to. Say, I went to St. John's Episcopal here in Tampa, and it has the stained glass windows, except things are written in Hebrew, and they're written from right to left. Yes.
It's really
so
pretty.
it was just kind of interesting things that you never find out about your history. This is the interior, so it looks just like you would normally see.
Beautifully maintained,
right?
And the lighting was perfect for that shot right
there.
Yes,
it's gorgeous with those beautiful columns. And I was asking them. I said, "Well, this is I didn't know that much about synagogues." So I said, "This looks like any church I've been to, And they said, well, you think about it, and there weren't a lot of builders that knew how to build. So this is the style that was popular in the early 1800s. So they built it in that style.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's similar to a lot of Catholic churches.
It is. It has kind of like the cross shape, the nave and everything.
I did read this earlier. It's kind of hard to read just from the image that you're seeing now on your television, but we'll have these pictures either on our Facebook page. Steve, if you could do that for us.
We'll do that tonight.
Because to read this is also rather, if you want to give us just the summary of that particular, and this is just like we have in Ybor City, the same type of cast iron.
It's like a marker.
Yeah, cast iron marker that denotes a landmark.
Right, and this is just a little marker outside of the synagogue, Congregation Mikveh Israel, founded 1733, and that was the date that Dr. Nunes landed in Savannah. And it's just talking about him coming there, and I don't think in this particular plaque it doesn't mention his name specifically, but it mentions the group of people that came.
It mentions the President of the United States, George Washington, making a letter that recognizes that congregation forevermore into perpetuity, which when I read that, I thought that was pretty cool stuff.
It was, and when you think about it too, Georgia colony actually was very tolerant religiously. They were more tolerant of different types of religions than some of the other colonies where we think,
Which is
think
interesting
of the South.
It is.
Right. You wouldn't think that.
Right.
Yeah.
The script has flipped, as we like to say.
Yeah. But it was fascinating seeing the Torah from it was an actual from the 1600s, a book. That they actually and they still read from that. I mean, they keep it behind closed doors most of the year, but to see that ancient text.
Pretty heavy stuff.
It is.
Well, we just want to make note that it's about almost 20 minutes till the top of the hour, which is the end of our show. And our phone number is 813-977-6800. If you want to ask a question or if you want to make a comment, either your choice. Steve, if you have some emails, we have some Bolita drawings and some fabulous things to give away.
We have one Bolita number so far.
We have a couple more on email.
Okay.
And we do have another question for Andy as well.
Sure.
Well, first of all, let's do this. This is from Nate Spoto, one of my cousins.
There you go.
Hi, Nate.
One of our sponsors,
many
too.
cousins.
PR Syndication. Thanks, Nate, and thanks for watching. And his mom, Mary Spoto, is watching as well. Bolita number 63. He writes, hey, enjoying the show. Happy to hear that the Tampa Yankees are now a sponsor of the Tampa Yankees show.
There you go.
So are we,
Thank you, Nate. We are too.
We are too.
This is from Marilyn Messina, follow-up from what I mentioned earlier.
Sure.
Our original family market was part of a group of grocery stores known as the Gator Food Stores. Flo and Joe Tambuzzo's store was part of that group. Their daughters, Mary Jane and Rose. Really a small world, and the connections continue, which is so true. Now here's the question from Jim Carney.
Okay.
And Jim writes, question for Andy. Are the hurricanes you mentioned earlier that brought your family to Tampa the same storms that blew the cigar industry from Key West all the way to Tampa? At that time, I don't think so.
I don't think so, because that was, we think about the time period, so let's put that in perspective. Yeah, a lot of the cigar industry was in the 1890s, if I'm correct.
Late 1800s,
late 1800s.
That's correct.
So this was, these hurricanes that I was talking about, there was a hurricane 1848. There was a category, of course they didn't call them categories back then, but in our modern terminology, we would refer to it as a Category 4 hurricane that hit in September 1848. You have to imagine, this was a tidal surge that came about 15 feet up Tampa Bay to where what we call the garrison, which was where the old fort was, right at the top of the bay, now is downtown Tampa, around where the Times Forum building is, approximately in that area. So that hurricane came, and then another hurricane, a Category 3, came in October.
Wow.
Caused a lot of flooding. So those hurricanes that came way before the big Cuban immigration for the cigar factory. So I think there are two different things, and there were a lot of things going on between that, so they're not related.
But Jim Carney does put some thought into his question.
Yes, and that's a very good question.
Yes, great
So I'm almost going to ring the bell for you, Jim, because that was an almost bell.
Yes.
Ring
Can't
it.
do it. All right, Jim. Because it was a fabulous question.
It was.
See?
It was great.
Does he have a number?
His belated number is
44.
44.
44.
We know and love our fans so well that we know. Sometimes they don't even have to say, you know what, let's start playing that guessing game, Steve.
We should do that.
We should start doing that. I mean, you get the emails, but let the 15-minute girl and I and our guest of the day try to guess the number. Now, it's not going to be as fair for our guests because they don't know our guests, our belated numbers, but we know them. So, 813-977-6800 if you've got a question for Andy. And I'm going to ask the booth to call the number just to make sure the phones are on. Because to not have one call on a night, now I understand. I do understand, because this is just Andy's night to tell us
riveting
these wonderful stories. Yeah. And if you don't have a question, that's fine.
Yes.
Because you're just waiting to ask him a weather question, aren't you? Aren't you? You just wait to pick up the phone and ask him if it's going to rain tomorrow. Not going to happen.
Now, we do have a good comment, too, from our beloved Dan Perez.
Oh, here we go,
great.
Dan. Come on, Dan.
And he's always watching our back.
Corey, and he's always watching the show.
Yeah.
Oh, he's watching
Hey,
our
Dan.
back. In fact, this is the comment. The audio tonight on the TV feed is excellent. You don't have to have the big empty room, acoustic sound. Video looks fantastic as well on the close-up shot. So everything's perfect.
Great. Thanks,
Well,
Dan.
And in great part, that's
man.
because Eric Cups got here with enough time. He was relaxed. He seemed to be at peace with everything today. So when we did our sound check earlier, there he is. When he did our sound check earlier, we took our time.
Think about Eric.
And you know what? Sometimes when we get home and we watch the replay, we do hear those things that you hear, Dan. And we appreciate you letting us know that tonight's
Good job,
sound
Dan.
is very good.
You know, you're talking about grocery stores too. I grew up here in Tampa on Davis Island, and there was a grocery store, Davis Island Supermarket, and they called it Pete's was the nickname. But that is gone too. That is no longer here. So there's been a lot of
there's a lot of
supermarkets that have gone on.
Yeah.
And remember it, for those of you that were in Tampa when they originally built the West Shore Plaza in '66, and I think it opened in '67 or something like that.
Yes, he didn't watch that show.
I'm sorry, you probably.
No, you got to go back and see it.
Okay, I've got to, but there was a pantry prize at there, which was kind of a separate building from so you could go grocery shopping and go to get some clothes and everything. So that's gone. In fact, someone was asking me, there was evidently a German restaurant at the old mall, and I could not remember the name of it. So maybe that's a trivia question for any of the viewers out there. There was supposedly a German restaurant at the West Shore Plaza in the 1970s or 1980s.
Dunderbox?
That's what I thought. I know there was one, the University Mall.
I don't think it was.
But I don't think it was. There was a Piccadilly. And
I want to say, but it's not Der Wiener Schnitzel because that was on Dale Mabry.
No, it wouldn't have been there was Schiller's Delicatessen.
And that was on Manhattan in South Tampa. So we've got another photograph that we want to bring up because we want to talk about it. We don't want to miss any of these beautiful, magnificent pictures. The Roper House. Can we talk a little bit about the Roper House?
Sure, yeah.
Photograph number 17.
So this is in Charleston. So I was making this loop this weekend. I was talking to you on the phone in the car.
From Charleston?
And I was trying to get off the exit off the interstate. I was trying to make sure I got the right one.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, this is Roper House. So, and of course, Charleston factored a lot into Civil War. And Fort Sumter, I'm looking in the direction of Fort Sumter. So Fort Sumter was where the first shot was fired. And there's actually inside this Roper house, which Dick, my cousin Dick Jenrette has, there is an element of an old shell in there that he kept, and you can go up on the third level, and he's got it set up so you can look and see where that is. But it's a beautiful, and again the columns. Look at the different columns. And so these are not Corinthian columns here, but the kind of the column concept keeps coming through. And it's right on the battery. Stately. Very stately. And this is from one of the gardens looking back towards the house. So it was nice enough to show us around the house.
Really green grass.
Very green grass. And
amazing.
His gardener has been with him for 30 years. He keeps that garden just beautiful. It's beautiful up there.
It really is pretty.
And this is in one of the parlor. Now this is looking out towards the battery, which is in the distance there. So Fort Sumter is out there. You can't see it in
that's water
the small
in the
windows. That's water in the background. And my favorite color there is blue. So I like the blue carpeting.
Beautiful royal blue. And who's that man in that picture frame there?
I think, in the picture frame,
Washington.
It's Washington.
That's George.
It looks like
George. That's exactly who that is.
Yes, and
the father of our country.
Yes, and I believe that furniture. So this was built also around the 1820 time period.
Wow. Wonderful.
Yeah. Can you imagine you're sitting out there on the veranda with your family members. Now go back to the 1820s, man. People are out there and they're doing what they did in the 1820s
and so this we're visiting as you would in the
1820s.
on the porch on the veranda.
It's a great porch.
Where's the sweet tea? You're not drinking sweet tea?
There was a lot of sweet tea going around there.
You know what? It almost has like a Bayshore Boulevard feel to it.
With the balustrade. Well, the balustrade is exactly the
same type of thing. And we don't have that many earthquakes in Florida. We're the state with the least amount of earthquakes. But they had a terrible earthquake in Charleston in, I believe it was 1868 or so. This house survived, so that's why it was built very well. Yes.
And with that, I would like to sing a little song.
Oh no, darling, are you going to sing?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Andy, get ready.
We're so glad we've had this time together, just to share some laughs and memories. But it's almost 15 minutes left to go now, and then we'll have to say so long, but only till next week. And thank you, Andy, for sharing all your memories with us.
You're very, very welcome.
How about that? She hadn't sung in a while. So
you
know what? You had inspired her to break out in song now, because she had
a little tear in my eye.
No, she hadn't sung in a while, and she can carry a tune. Thank you, darling. That was sweet.
And next show, Mario is going to to sing.
Okay.
I will. I will. But you got to wear shorts.
All right. Okay.
You wear shorts, I sing. That's how that works.
It wouldn't show anyway if you didn't wear shorts. It's a great show.
Listen, we're going to do our Bolita drawing in about 5-7 minutes.
One,
so
two,
give us a call, send us an email, call us just to give us a Bolita number. You don't even have to. We've got 4 tickets to the Tampa Yankee games as well. We've got
we got the answer.
We got the answer
to your relation. The Nunez.
Really?
Dan Perez.
Oh no, there's no way.
Yeah. He went way back. You know how good he is.
He is
good.
See,
Dan, but
he went way back.
Dan does have an account, a current and in good standing with Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we asked him, we put him on a task.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I'm ready.
I don't think he found this on Ancestry.com. In this case, but here it is. Okay. I have found Mario and Andy's common ancestors.
Okay.
I can only find the first names though.
Okay.
Adam and Eve.
Oh, funny.
Dun, 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 dun.
I knew there was going to be a catch.
And we do have another Bolita number.
Good.
This is from Angelo Ramori.
Oh, good, Angelo. Thank you.
And he writes, Andy brings so much information about Tampa when he's on the show. It helps us old geezers remember the old days.
There you go.
It's always good to have him on. Bolita number 24.
24.
Thank you, Angelo.
24 for Angelo Ramori.
Thank you for that
comment. And I think that in great part is probably what superseded any phone calls tonight, and we understand that completely because there's a lot here going on, man. And we, sometimes as viewers, even though we're on this side of the camera, we understand that you don't necessarily want to break the flow of the conversation.
We don't always have to have
calls. No, I'm just soliciting for calls because I don't want anybody to miss out on the opportunity to win our Bolita drawing tonight in just a couple of minutes.
Does that mean we can play now because we didn't get his
No, we can't.
Listen. But Andy, I mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to repeat myself at the risk of repeating myself.
Yes.
Take us with you next time.
Okay.
Man, because that looks like a cool trip.
It was very nice.
And we can make it. Listen, and we can take a little side jog on the trip up to Savannah, to Nunez, Georgia. Have you been?
I have been to Nunez, Georgia.
Well, let's talk about that real quick.
Well, because when I first was kind of getting into this, I think, was it you that asked me earlier, Steve, about, did I kind of listen to family history when I was growing up? And I kind of didn't. But so when I kind of got on this little jag about knowing more about it, I found out about the Savannah connection. So there is a little town. It's very small. Nunez, Georgia, in the southeastern part of Georgia, near Swainsboro.
There you go, brother. I know about Swainsboro now.
And so
hell, it's between Vidalia and Lincoln.
Exactly.
I know, man. I looked it up on the map.
So I went up there to try to find maybe, go to some of the cemeteries, find some ancestors who are buried there.
Sure.
It was nothing. And I found out that little town was named after Dr. Samuel Nunez, my ancestor, posthumously.
Yes.
Oh.
So he never lived there. And so it was just kind of a little tribute to him and the Nunez family.
Now, Andy, don't tell Mario that, because he'll go there and try to become the mayor.
Of course. Well, I was going to ask you, when you went riding through the town, did you stop at the post office, the one post office like in Hooterville, and bust through the doors and said, I'm a descendant of Mr. Samuel Nunez, and I demand my civil rights? But what a tribute to your ancestry.
Yes.
And it stands to reason. He established himself in Europe, in his home country of Portugal, as a decent man of upstanding, did his work, his due diligence, and I guess you'd say he made good by the king and queen at the time.
Right.
So he got close to the royal family. As a result, he was given the privilege of being able to set sail, because I imagine not everybody had that opportunity.
Well,
maybe had to pay a little bit too.
Well, the rest of the story that I didn't get into.
Oh, come on, man! Is there some dirt? Because we're looking for some dirt.
No, he wasn't allowed to set sail. It's actually, you can look it up. If you look it up in the history book, but it was a little deceptive.
Did he have to sneak out?
He had to sneak out. He invited an English ship captain to come over. That was his connection to London. And he was able to entertain, so he had everyone. And he was since he was kind of under house arrest, there was someone monitoring to make sure that he didn't do anything religiously wrong. And that he obeyed all the religious laws of the day. So he invited everyone onto the ship for a wonderful party, and after a few drinks and everything, people didn't realize the ship started moving.
Here we go.
And then it eventually went to London. Now he gave everyone that wanted to go back to Lisbon to their way back. But no, it was not. He was not allowed to sail.
That is kind of
cool. That's a great story.
That made it even better.
Right. And so actually, some of he didn't have the currency, so they actually sewed precious metal into the women's clothing, gold and stuff like that. So they'd have something when they got there to buy food with.
Wow! So now, ladies and gentlemen, as Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story. That's fascinating. That's good stuff. See, that's the West. We knew it took us 52 minutes to get to the good stuff, man. But we got all the way down there. That's great, Andy. That's great.
And I think I don't know if you've got perhaps a picture here of I think it's on 5A or something like that to Anthony Sleeman. I wanted to talk about some other people in Tampa.
This is a pretty cool picture here.
Cool. This is me.
How cute!
This is my first quail hunting.
Oh no, you didn't.
And I caught that quail. No, I didn't catch that quail.
That's big.
This is taken in Seminole Heights, and this was my godfather Anthony Sleeman. Anthony Sleeman, I just wanted to mention him. Yes, he was a tax collector in Hillsborough County in the 50s and 60s, and he really went about kind of codifying and making the tax system more fair for the system, because it was just done kind of a mishmash way. And he died in the 70s, but his wife was my godmother, Esther Sleeman, and she was of Spanish extraction as well. She came from the Catalonia area, and her family, and so she actually, going back in history, she worked in the 1920s for the in Tampa, and actually recorded the plats for Davis Islands.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of wanted to get the tie-in. These are not my relatives directly, but I love my my abuelita, I called her, my grandmother, my godmother, and this was my godfather, who who was a very smart man and a big part of Tampa history.
Oh
Many people probably remember him from those days because they made out their checks
I remember
to the tax collector.
Of course.
Yeah, to Anthony Sleeman.
Wasn't there Sleeman Plumbing as well?
There is, and he's part of that family. That family is a
Leave it
large
to
family.
Tampa Steve. Leave it to
Large
Tampa Steve.
family. They have many relatives, maybe as many as Tampa Steve does
probably
across
related to
Tampa.
Listen, we got just a couple of minutes left. We want to get to this, and if time permits, I have a recording from one of our callers to our comment line that I'd really like to play tonight as well. So, darling, do you have the numbers handy?
I have
ready?
them. There's not
just
that
a few?
many. Yeah.
Well, then everybody's got a good chance to win. We're going to 4.
Am I drawing?
No, you're not going to draw. Of course you're not
Will
going to
you
draw.
have it over here?
I don't know, darling. I don't know. I'm confused.
I'm going to draw?
Yes, you
Okay.
our guests always have the
Okay,
always have the
do
distinction.
I call the number out?
You
or
can,
okay,
surely you can.
okay.
It's closest to without going over. Stevie, help her out.
Okay.
42.
42.
That's 44.
Closest to, without
Jim
going
Carney.
over. That would be
Angelo.
Angelo.
No, that's Angelo because Jim went over.
Lord.
Hi, Angelo. Angelo, you get to pick
Congratulations.
what you'd like. Huh? So real quick, send us an email. Tell us, you want the olive oil and the infused vinaigrette? Or you want the 4 tickets to the Yankees game? Because we're going to give another one away right now.
Here we go. Drum roll. And the number is, let me get it correctly right up so it's not upside down because it's
Bingo.
one of those numbers.
Oh, 62.
9.
9 versus.
Oh.
Okay, that would be Hugh Perrette.
There we go.
Well,
You
wait a minute.
Perrette.
Yeah.
Winner, chicken dinner. So,
This is Angelo.
so Angelo, if you want to go to the ball game and take your family, please.
Actually, closest to without going over. 9. It went over 9, right?
Oh, it did go over 9. Sorry.
Oh, so keep going.
Closest to, yeah.
Do we have another?
No.
No. So I had to draw again.
No.
Draw again. Draw again.
We got 2 minutes to go.
2 minutes. Quick
2
draw.
minutes.
Quick draw.
2 minutes. And the draw is, quick draw McGraw.
It is 36.
36. There it is.
There it goes.
Okay.
So it's
Same
probably Hugh
guy.
Perrette again.
That'd be you. All right,
See how it happens?
It was meant to be.
Only
Figure it
only
out.
4 players tonight, but we got 2 winners out of the deal. So
Yeah.
you guys send us an email, let us know what you'd like, and we'll work that out for you guys. We got about a minute and a half to go.
What a wonderful show.
Let me play this real quick if I can. This is from one of our callers last week to our comment line. Listen to this call. It's very interesting.
Hi, Tampa Native Show. I'm a huge fan of your program. I've been a native of Tampa since 1955, and your program brings memories of my Tampa. Take photos and hear the interviews of places and times that used to be, and some that are still are. Your recent program featuring the Tampa's own Ricky Gallen was awesome. Hearing his old friends call in from all over the nation was amazing. You are providing a link between the past and present, and we all appreciate you so much. Thank you, Frederica Russell.
That's nice.
Thank you, Freddie.
Thank
That
you,
was
Frederica
wonderful.
Russell. So we got less than a minute to go, Stevie. Remind everybody about the website.
Yep.
Website, TampaNativeShow.com. We should have the highlights from tonight's show, the great answer that Andy had earlier to the question that we got. That should be up by tomorrow, and the show itself will be up by the weekend.
15-minute girl.
And we need to ask everyone to please go call our comment line, 813-920-2508, and leave a nice comment about our show.
Andy Johnson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's an honor.
It's
to be
always
here.
a pleasure. And will you come back and
I will.
do it again?
I will.
Maybe during hurricane season. We'll bring you back so we can talk a little weather.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to.
10-9.
On behalf of Tampa Steve, the 15-minute girl, Andy
Salud.
Johnson, I'm Mario Nunez. Salud, and happy days. We love you, Tampa.
Yes, we do.
Back when we were younger and everything seemed new, we used to have a lot of fun, yes we did, no matter what we do. Sleepy days, long summer nights, going anywhere we please, with love that I could call my own, love that I've always known, the city that I call my home, a home from which I never roam. This love affair was meant to be. I love her and she loves me. I remember Tampa, oh, she remembers me. She remembers me. I remember, yeah, yes I do. Oh, I remember, yeah, me and you. I'm a Tampa native, Tampa native, can't you see? story with you to preserve its history. Yeah.
All right now, don't forget, Thursdays, 7 p.m. on TBCN, home of the Tampa Native Show.